Jay Massey is a full-time real estate investor. He's an entrepreneur.
He also teaches people how to find deals, raise capital for real estate investments.
Meeting Jay Massey in person, you'd think he's just a regular guy. He's got jeans and a t-shirt on and a pair of sneakers. But he's built up a multi-million-dollar empire.
I hope you do have an empty notebook because it's going home filled.
Jay gives back so much value that I've never seen.
Now, at this moment, when I'm looking at the kitchen, things are going through my head.
You want to be friends with him, and he treats you like you're the only person in the room, even though it's for the benefit of everybody.
This is how, when you ask yourself, how does Jay do it? This is how.
He tells people that they have to take action, and they have to take action now. I took the action, and the results have paid off.
What happens when the marketplace understands who we are and how we go out there? Hello, everyone. Hopefully things are going well for you this morning. I know you weren't expecting it, but here we are because we are excited to continue this conversation. We want to give you, again, some more perspectives on how does the business work, more perspectives on what does it cost to get started. And I see some of you typing questions as well, and we're going to do our best to get those answered. Now, just like we did before, this time I've got a new group, a new set of entrepreneurs who are out there absolutely making the short-term rental business happen. Now, here's the thing. Because their perspectives are different, don't think just because we're asking the same questions that their answers are going to be the same. What I want you to hear is that I want you to hear the differences, because now what you'll be able to see today is, well, this really does work for a whole lot of people all across the globe. And that is one of the things that we like. I know I like a lot about this particular business model. So let's get down to it and let's see how we can make all of this happen. So I have with me another 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 wonderful individuals who are out there making the short-term rental world their world. So we will definitely get to all of them. Want to make sure that you can indeed see them. This is great. Gotta love technology, right? Because when would you ever expect to be able to do something like this? So we've got individuals, again, each of you, when you hear me talking about you, just kind of wave your hand, that way they know. But we've got individuals who started, now hear me clearly when I say this, when they started in a situation in which they were unemployed, but also have this passion for airplanes. And they were wondering, can I do it? Should I get a job first? Will this really work? Because see, here's what I know. I know some of you have your last stack of capital and you're hoping that something will come along and begin to change your life. We also think about, how many of you know a teacher? I mean, at least one. Someone who was a teacher, is a teacher, who's really good at teaching. But you also know that teachers do not make the money that they should. They just don't. And because they don't, you've always been like, man, what else could I possibly do for my teacher, or any teacher for that matter? Would you believe that the answer could absolutely be short-term rentals? Because when you start, some of you may want to start or have started with the basement or the extra unit in your own house. Now, again, that's not all the time. It's definitely not the way you're going to scale. But what it comes down to is getting started is what absolutely matters. But more importantly, sometimes people come here. They come here with a dream. They come here being the United States, with a hope. They're not from here, and yet they still make it. But let me ask you this question. At what age would you no longer like to have your current W-2 job? Because it's possible using short-term rentals. Yes, you can have long-term rentals too, but there's something different about having short-term rentals that makes it possible that even if you worked in a pharmacy, that you could leave that job behind. What I love, though, is that no matter where you are, because see, some of us think that, well, it's not going to work here. There's too many politicians around they just mess everything up. And yet, some people, you realize one of the best places to be is where the politicians are, because guess who has a need for temporary housing all the time? The government. And yet you can build your entire business right there. Now, it may take you a minute to get started, but that's okay. Because see, that tells me you've got the perseverance to make it happen. And then when it comes down to it, oftentimes you can think of the phrase golden handcuffs. What does that mean? That simply means individuals who are earning so much money and are so entrenched into the existing system that they cannot see a way out. In fact, you could present a great opportunity to them. And right now they could totally decline it. But yet a few years later, you continue, and then they one day realize that, okay, maybe there was something to what you said. And who knows, in a few short years, they themselves could find themselves in a position to where, well, 7 figures was once a mystery and is soon to be history. That is what we're talking about today, is the short-term rental world, how it affects, and most importantly, what it is that happens from many different perspectives. So we're going to ask some of the same questions that we asked the last panel, but what I want you to hear are some of the differences. So let me see who we're going to start with here. Let's go with, yes, right? Boom, there. So we're going to start with you. I think you knew that I was coming your direction, but that's good, because that means you know how I'm thinking. But Sinead, do us a favor. Tell us where you are geographically, how many units, and people want to know, how on earth did you manage to leave your job behind?
Geographically, hey guys, Sinead Akune. Geographically, I'm in Alexandria, Louisiana. If you know Shreveport and you know Lafayette, Louisiana, I'm somewhere in the middle. I started with 5 long-term rentals and then quickly scaled to 22 actually. And shortly after, discovered the short-term rental game, tested it out with 2 in June of last year. And between June and December, quickly scaled to 10 and looking to scale even quicker now. But in June, with those 2 short-term rental units, the gross income covered my mortgage for all my 22 units, and that shifted a few things around in my brain.
Whoa. Hold on. You said that too fast, and somebody said, I mean, I heard a record scratch in there. Like if I had that sound effect, I would have totally played it right there. Okay. You just said 2 short-term rentals covered what for the entire building?
The gross income from the 2 short-term rentals covered my mortgages for all 22 units that I had.
Man, you keep talking like this, you're going to convert some people from long-term rentals. But no, go ahead.
Sorry.
What did you saying? What is, when that happened, you said that started a chain reaction of obviously thoughts and ideas. I'm curious to hear the evolution.
Oh no, that juggled a few things in my brain, but it was absolutely essential to stay with 2 for a few. So I stayed with 2 for June, July, August, September, and in September I started ramping up and got turned 4 units online by October. That also continued the chain reaction, and by December turned out 4 more. So ending out the year with 10. And right now, just shoring up my systems and making the necessary hires so that whenever I go from 10 to 20, I don't break my system.
Now, okay, you just said a very important word. The word is system. There are individuals who are out there right now. They go, well, I don't have any time. I'm busy. I happen to know you were kind of busy too. So I would love to hear, how on earth does someone who is busy, overwhelmed with time, make something like this happen?
The answer is not it sounds easy, but I wouldn't say it is. So actually, I'll go back to my very first semester in pharmacy school. I was in the bathroom trying to hype myself up for a test. That was a really huge test that was coming up. And one of my professors walked into the bathroom. He realized what I was doing and didn't disturb me. And then on his way out, he was just kind of tapped me on the shoulder. And he was like, hey, if you want it bad enough, you're going to get it. So yes, I was busy. Yes, I mean, I was working week on, week off, and my weeks on, I would work 80 hours in that week of nights, and would stay up to catch the classes that we have at noon my time, and stay up till 2 and nap a little bit and get to work for 8 or 7 in the evening. So, but in between all that, I mean, the systems made it so easy for me to be able to respond when I was awake and do things when around my work or my spare time, which I don't know how to put it, but yeah, you have to have your systems in place.
It's like there's no other way to do it. This is it. Yes, no, I totally hear you and I understand. It's just that I know, and I like what you said. It's when you want something, you're going to find a way to make it happen. And I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. Did you say 80-hour weeks?
Yeah, the weeks that I was on, I would work 12 hours for 7 days straight.
Wow.
Yeah, 7 days straight.
So I'm assuming you're happy to have let that go.
I actually sleep like a human now, yes.
Right? Wow, that is insane. I can't even imagine what that life would be like. And ladies and gentlemen, hopefully if you know someone who is out there who has to do something like that, that you are letting them know that we're here and that this exists, because that is, wow, amazing to say the least. Now, speaking of amazing, one of the things that I love is that I love it that because see, here's the thing. Sometimes when you get started or when you have an idea, when you want to do something, your significant other might just, I don't know, be peeking around the corner looking, not exactly fully engaged at the beginning. And you got a choice to make. You got to choose, am I going to still do this anyway? How are we going to make this work? So, Alicia, I'm curious. You know why? You know where I'm going with this. So, there's a lot of spouses out there right now going, man, but he's not going to do it, but she won't let me do it, or something to that effect. They feel like they're being held back. What would you say to them?
You picking on my boob, Jay?
I kind of am, because is he peeking through the corner again? I mean,
He's in the back, actually.
It's been fun. There he is. See, there it is. Because it was fun watching him so many times, just kind of watching, peeking through the corner, but so I'm curious. You two had to work something out, and I know that there's a lot of people who are letting that stop them, and they would love to know your secret.
Well, I tell you a little background on us. Martin was my prom date back in 1983. And we've been together since then. We were married in 87 after I graduated college. And we worked a commercial cleaning firm for 18 years together. And basically, we were together every day. One thing that I can say is that I respect that he's an individual. He respects that I'm an individual. And some of the times he doesn't want to do what I want to do, and vice versa. So I knew that I wanted to do this, because our real estate company really wasn't getting me where my vision was showing me. We had that for 4 years before, I started the short-term rentals, and, it just wasn't working out. So I was following you for a couple of years on the internet, and I was so impressed. I listened to a couple of calls, and there was one call in particular I hadn't joined yet, that you were talking to Nevin, and you were so patient, and you really cared that he was getting success. and it was so genuine, and that is very rare. So I didn't want to buy another course or buy another system and then not have somebody hold my hand if I needed it, or even care if after they cashed that credit card receipt that I succeeded. So I was so pleased when February 2020, I signed up with the Roadmap. And before that, I was doing the masterclass. So previously I was a registered nurse. I'm also a 3-time national, national award-winning novelist. So my novel career wasn't, where I wanted it to be. I didn't want to go back to nursing after we retired the cleaning business. So I said, you know what? Jay's genuine. I'm going to do that master course. And so I was driving Uber at the time, trying to decide which way I was going. And I showed Martin, the system and everything. And Martin was driving for Uber too. He was a 30-year restaurant manager. So I would have all my stuff spread out, you in my ear, what's your avatar, who do you serve, da, da, da. And Babe would come through and he would say, what you doing? And I say, I'm picking out, our areas and who we serve. And he said, I'm not really into that. It's okay. And I was like, hey, you got to do you, but I'm going to be a multimillionaire with these short-term rentals, and I could show you better than I can tell you. So we went on for a while and signed up with the Roadmap. End of February, 2 weeks later, the whole country shut down because of COVID, and knocked me a little bit, but I said, I'm still going to do this. Might waylay me a little bit. And Babe was like, yeah, babe, I don't see it. And I'm like, okay, I got it. So eventually he would come, and it's a joke that, he would stand in the door and he would listen in on the calls, and, little bit by little bit, he would inch in, then he'd go back out and inch in and go back out. But when we signed the first 3 leases that we have in September, he was on board full force, and we're about to sign 3 more leases. Well, we signed 3 more leases, and we're about to move into 3 more units come the 22nd of this month. And the first month that we had open, the second month that we had open, we totally booked out all of our units. And right now, all of our units are totally booked. So we have no more inventory. So we have to go get more units. And now my baby's a believer.
Yeah, Jay, I got that shut up check.
Yes, it is this shut up check. For those of you who don't know, there's this internal saying. When you're looking at the beginning, you're on the outside looking in, and there's a whole bunch of fear that you're dealing with. And there's a voice in the back of your head. And if you don't have that voice, your spouse does, or your friend does. Somebody does. And that first check, when that check comes, that is the check that makes the voice shut up. That's what we're talking about. That shut up check. It's so critical. So Martin, since you're here, I've got to know, what was it? What went through your mind when that shut up check arrived? Like, how all of a sudden now it's like, what were you thinking?
Well, Jay, I'll tell you, just a little bit of backstory. We've invested and been in so many real estate programs that we spent, thousands of dollars,
tens of thousands,
and we got nothing out of it. It was more or less, here's the program, use it, no support at all. Honestly, I saw Alicia and I was turned off. I thought this was another one that we were spending thousands and thousands of dollars on, and she was determined. She's like, hey, you can just stand back in the background and do nothing. I'm going to do it because it works. And as you said, I was kind of in the background listening. And you know, for me, it made it. I was like, man, this guy's really making sense, you know. And you know, but I you know, that first check came, you know, and I was like, wow, this really works. And like Alicia said, we're you know, we just got our 6th unit, and you know, more to come, absolutely.
You know, and that's what one of the things, well, I'm sure you see it now that you guys have that's unique, because most markets don't have what you guys have, is not, yes, the volume of international travel, but your average length of stay is almost always going to be longer than just about every other marketplace because of because of your proximity to, you know, the White House and everything else that goes along around there. So do us a favor real fast, tell the people where you're operating, and because they now know how many units, and then we're just going to keep this thing rolling. You guys are crushing it.
We're in Washington, D.C., and you mentioned the length of stay. Our longest stay is through May, and he just asked to extend to July the 4th. So,
wow.
Yeah, we're
happy. Go get more units now. That is literally where they are. Understand, every marketplace does have some uniquenesses, and that's a good thing, okay? Because it also can sometimes feed into who you should be serving, but ultimately you want to define who do you want to serve. The key word being want to serve. Now, when it comes down to it, you've heard mentioned many times that, hey, system. I'm going to share with you a person who is by far not only good at Excel sheets, but really good at following the system, because that he just like refused to deviate. And his refusal to deviate has created a situation that it's like, wow, I'm just constantly encouraged. And some of the additional relationships he's been able to forge has beyond exceeded my own expectations. But what I'm really excited about is his future and the speed at which he's moving. David, do us a favor. Tell us where you are operating from, how many units you have, and give us a little bit of background on how on earth did you overcome the challenges that you have dealt with thus far.
Yeah, good morning, everyone, or afternoon, depending on where you are. So I'm in Southern Oregon, Medford specifically. It's just, I don't know, 35 minutes north of the California border. So my wife and I moved up here from the Bay Area 3.5 years ago. So San Francisco is a great place to leave behind. I think my best view of San Francisco was in my rearview mirror. So the Bay Area is a great place for us to be. Unlike Alicia and Shanae do, I don't have anywhere near as many units as those folks do. I only have 3, but I'll tell you what, it's not enough because I'm booked solid. So I started a little bit of background about me. My background, I used to be an aircraft mechanic. Aviation is my passion. The last job I had down in the Bay Area, I worked for a medical device manufacturer building machines to treat cancer patients. So my whole career life has been about hands-on, building stuff, fixing things, repair. You know, I used these my whole career. And I moved up here. I took an outside sales job with an HVAC company, and they gave me the territory manager position here in Southern Oregon. So I was responsible for growing all the accounts. That attempt at that outside sales position failed miserably. I was never able to move the needle far enough, fast enough to justify keeping me on board. So I found myself in August of 2019 without a job. And the guy who let me go, I shook his hand and gave him a hug and thanked him for severing the relationship because it was just absolutely horrible. Then 10 days later, I found myself having lunch, Jay, with a mutual friend of ours, Hugh, that you and I know. We had lunch at a little sandwich shop here in town, and I told Hugh, I said, look, I'm 55. I don't have enough to retire. I've got to do something, and I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do. And he told me about you and what you were doing down in the greater Los Angeles area. And we had a conversation about short-term rentals, completely foreign to me. That lunch that Hugh and I had was August, I want to say the 18th of 2019. Then by the end of August, I had decided I'm going to go for this. I registered my business and started jumping in. I started the mastermind program. I was a student of that, and then joined the roadmap at the beginning of January last year. And I signed my first lease March 23rd of 2020. So I'm sure you all know what was going on in March of 2020. That was the start. That was the pandemic launch, and so I signed my first lease. I thought I'm going to do this. I'm all in, and so I've got 3 units now, and in that amount of time, my worst occupancy rate in that time is 92%. During a pandemic. And so I just looked at the stats this morning, and I'm averaging 94.2% for the 3 units. And, consistently what I keep thinking and experiencing is I just don't have enough to meet the demand. I can't seem to get them quick enough. I'm not one of those guys who's skilled at bringing on 3 and 4 or 6 at a time. I'm a do one at a time kind of guy, because I'm gonna make sure that I'm doing it right, and I just can't get enough quick enough, and I'm enjoying the heck out of what I'm doing. I really am.
Hey, what I love about everything that you said is the fact that I can hear you remembering how you were feeling at the time. I can hear it as you're talking, and now that you're looking through, a different eyes. I'm curious, what would you say to that person who you were, knowing what you know now?
Why did you doubt? Why did you wait? And I think I say that because I'm, it's kind of a strength weakness kind of thing. I'm way over the top OCD. I even argued with my wife that I don't have OCD. I have CDO. That's similar to OCD, except the letters are in alphabetical order, like they're supposed to be. I'm so methodical that I oftentimes get in my own way. Paralysis of analysis. I live, breathe, and walk that every day. But what I've learned over time is that this system, and we've all used the word and the term system, but it's a collection of processes that are step by step to take us through 0 units to however many. And I think that what I've learned over time is this is pretty much bulletproof. I mean, all I have to do is learn and execute, and I'm slow to do that, just because of who I am. So I think I would have told myself a lot sooner, trust sooner, and I'll have more and greater rewards a lot sooner.
So would it be fair to say that in the time that you've been here, that your accountability coach made a difference?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, Christy and I had this conversation in January of last year when the opportunity presented itself. And of course, the first thing that I look at is the cost. And but then Christy and I were standing in the kitchen having this conversation, and I said, I don't know how I could be anywhere near as successful without the coaching. So let's give it a shot for a year and just see what happens. And so I jumped into the roadmap at the beginning of January, and within a short amount of time, probably weeks, it became clear that cost was not cost. It quickly became an investment. It became an asset to my business operations. And John and I are constantly in communication with each other. He's on my speed dial. We text all the time through the app. Oftentimes I'll send him a text, late at night. There's 3 hours difference between us. But, it's close to midnight his time, and a lot of times he responds. It's like, come on, John, you should be in bed. So yeah, to answer your question, the coaching, absolutely, it's made a difference. And then when January came around this year, Christy and I did not have that conversation of should we continue. It was it was a no-brainer. So yeah, the coaching, absolutely. I can't brag enough about it.
So, Wendy, as one of the coaches, I'm curious, how does it feel to hear the words that David is sharing?
It is so amazing. It warms my heart, really, because we get to see the growth and David's growth, not just business, but personally. Man, it's been incredible to watch him become the person that he is today. It's really exciting for John and I and John's sitting right here, by the way. he's watching and listening as well. So, and Alicia and Sineadu and everybody is just, it has been an incredible experience for us as coaches to be able to see the journey that everyone has gone through, and because everybody starts at a different place, right? So what we do is we take people where they're at and help them grow and into becoming the person that they want to be, regardless of how many units they want, right? It's all about their personal growth, because it's just like Jay always says, you can't out-earn your personal growth.
Now, I'm looking at now. What's going on back there? I think I know, but why don't you share with the people what's going on back there?
Yes, we are in our newest unit. We are getting all set up today. We are about to go live, and it is very, very exciting to have yet another unit.
And then how many units do you guys have right now?
This will be unit number 7.
Number 7 of. See how I put you on the spot like that? She's like, yeah. I'm like, that's a good point. I need to think about that. But understand, everybody, that's how it works. I want you to be excited about the things that you are doing, but I also want you to always be thinking about the next thing as well. So, Wendy, when it comes to the short-term rental business, how much does it really cost to get started? Like, you've worked with a number of people now. How much does it really cost?
Well, how much? So I think it just kind of depends.
What's the range, because they want to hear something.
Okay. Well, to furnish is we usually say between 10 and 15 a square foot.
Got it. Many of you just heard a number that was lower than what I've told you to budget for. That is because, as I've always said, I'm going to tell you the number that is going to guarantee it done, because I'm allowing for mistakes. Because when before, you've also heard David and Alicia refer to a product known as the Mastermind. It's more of a self-study program. What would happen is more people were hitting the higher number when they were on a self-study. But when you have someone who is right there with you, helping you to make less mistakes from the beginning, being able to shave expenses and startup costs totally makes sense. So just hear the difference. So what we're saying is there's an immense amount of value. All of it is calculable when it comes to having the access to individuals who are actively, practically doing it today. So, Wendy, I'm curious. The business has changed since COVID, and I'm curious to know what was the value, or what value have you received uh, during the change, during the switch, during the chaos that became and is today forever going to mark the world, known as COVID?
Oh man, that's a really great question. And to be honest with you, I don't think that we would be where we are right now had it not been for you and the Roadmap program, because we were able to pivot who we served just a little bit with your help and the community's help. And now business has never been better for us, to be honest with you. We have houses in Charlotte, North Carolina. So this past year, a lot of people were pulling their loved ones out of assisted living facilities and putting them in our houses. And I never would have thought about that had it not been for brainstorming with you and the community and talking through those issues that we had and going through that business worksheet that we went through. Man, that was huge for us. And honestly, I don't think that we would be where we are without that.
And that's part of what I feel too, is because I knew I was going to have to do the work. And for those of you who are wondering, what are they talking about? We're coming up on the anniversary, if you will, of the weekend where it all fell apart. Because March, I think it was 12th, 13th, 14th, that weekend, I know personally, I ended up witnessing and turning off my email and phone because $80,000 of monthly revenue disappeared like that. It was just gone. You go to sleep, you wake up, it's gone. You're like, okay, rent's due in 15 days. What am I going to do? And I knew that two things were true. Where there's chaos, there's cash flow, and that there's a way through this. And we just have to rethink and more or less start over, rebuild. The challenge was we were now rebuilding with none of the tools, none of the resources that we had from the beginning. And so it just required a ground up rebuild, retool, but using the exact same system and strategies that got us, quote unquote, there in the first place. Now, $80,000 a month, fortunately, wasn't like all of the revenue, but it was a significant enough portion that it got my attention, if you understand my meaning. And sometimes you find yourself, especially when you're getting started, where you're like, I need to make money quick, right? One of the questions that we get often is, how fast? How quick is this going to work? How quick is this going to work? I mean, I need it to work right now. And I think that Robert is by far one of the best to answer this question, because he was in a very similar situation, meaning he needed it. Not like, oh, it'll be great one day if it does. He needed it to work quickly. No one has questioned me more closely around the how fast can I get this going than him. So we're going to ask him what his results have looked like. But I also know that you guys want to know how quickly can this work for you. So Rob, what would you say?
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here. Yeah, I absolutely had to have it work out. I will say, I'll answer how quickly first, and then I'll get to what the actual problem was. But how quickly was 30 days. When I started one of CashFlowDiary's programs as a student, I started the program. 30 days later, we were hosting our first guests. That was actually in the middle of the month that year. It was August 2017. The weekend around the 15th, 16th, 17th, we hosted our first guest. And we were able to make both of those apartments profitable that first month, even though we only had half a month to operate it. Now, what was the problem, though? The problem was I was a classic W-2 employee. I really valued my job and my career. I worked in marketing, specifically for technology companies. And it was a lot of fun for a while until it wasn't. And I felt just held down, chained to my job, heavy chested going into work until one day enough was enough. And I stopped working as an employee, but I kept working in marketing. I decided that I wanted to do it independently. The problem is, as a self-employed individual, it actually gets much harder, not easier, because now not only do I have to do the work, but I have to actually go find all those customers and generate the revenue and try to do that when I don't know what I'm doing. And it got to the point where I was so stressed out that I was basically just closing out my book of business and not getting new business, and found ourselves in a position where we were burning $7,500 a month in our savings. And our savings was only so much. It's only going to last for so long. About the time where I projected that we had exactly 3 months worth of expenses left was the same time that Jay was putting on his first ever short-term rental mastermind. It was produced live. And I was sitting next to Jay, shoulder to shoulder in Starbucks. And I was watching him teach people that he had never met before, didn't know who they were. They were from all over the country. And day by day, they were doing what he was telling them to do. He was essentially giving them the recipe piece by piece, ingredient by ingredient. They were following him and doing, and they were getting their units. They were talking to landlords and getting their units and getting them set up, and started hosting guests. And my mind was blown, because I said, for the first time, that's tangible to me. I can see that. I can do that. And so, yeah, I think that the very first time, it's funny because I told the story yesterday as well, but the first time that I finally told you, Jay, that tell me about the short-term rental thing, I think I wanted to do it, he started cracking up. And I'm like, what's so funny? He's like, I've been waiting. You're sitting here, you're watching me. I've been doing this real estate thing for like 10 years. I've been waiting for you to ask. And so, yeah, so I kind of, jumped off the deep end there. And I said, okay, great. How much is it going to cost me to get one set up? And how many do I need to burn the 75 or to get rid of the $7,500 burn? I actually call it stop the bleeding. I needed to stop the bleeding. That was my very first goal when I started. It was stop the bleeding, and it was replace my previous W-2 employment, which was a salary of about $160 a year. And then it was replace my wife's salary if she ever chose that she wanted to quit her job. And then it was, just, it goes, further up beyond there. But that first time it was stop the bleeding. And so I'm very similar to like what David said, analysis paralysis. I got to know, I'm very defensive. I got to know, like, how are all the ways that this could possibly fail? Because I need to be able to avoid all of those things. And so I asked Jay those questions, and then I said, okay, great. And so he pulled up his accounting software and he turned the screen on and he showed me the numbers, and my eyes bugged out of my head, and I was like, whoa, okay. I'll talk to my wife about this. I went home, I talked to the wife, and she wasn't a believer. So I'm lucky enough that Jay lives down the street. I'm like, hey, listen, man, well, whatever you're doing right now, stop what you're doing, come over to my house, bring your wife. We're going to hang out for a little bit, bring your computer. And we started talking to the wife, and it was a lot of mindset stuff. But then I said, okay, can you open your accounting software and show her what you showed me? And that's when she believed enough that I had the thumbs up to take the first steps to get our first 2 units. And so that brings us to the 2 units, August 2017. And the fact that we were able to make them profitable that first month, I was just absolutely blown away. And I went home and I told the wife, we're selling the house. I get teary-eyed thinking about it right now, because that was 3.5 years ago. And the reason that's important is because when we bought our house, we were coming out of, we bought our house in 2012. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I can't remember what year we bought in. I think it was 2012. Yep, 2012. And the reason why that was significant was because, like everybody, we were affected by the financial crash of 2008, 2009. We lost everything. We had a home. We lost it to short sale. We were on different government programs and assistance, eating rice and beans 3 days a week, didn't have a job for 10 months. And at the end of that was Jay and I talked for the very first time about real estate investing. And he presented me with an opportunity, and I heard him, but I didn't understand. And I wasn't ready for it mentally. And I passed on that opportunity. And it took me a full 10 years to get back to the place where I was finally broken enough and in a corner, backed into a corner enough to where I couldn't do anything but fight my way out. And so for me, it was, I'm not failing. Whatever needs to happen is going to happen. Whatever I need to do, I'm going to do. Because this time I have a wife and 2 kids, and at that time a mortgage. So when we were profitable on our first 2, I came home and I told my wife we're selling the house because this is the real deal. I followed the recipe. We were able to become profitable. And the only way we could stop the bleeding is more units. So we sold the house, took all the equity, put it into the business, put up 6 more units. So we went from 0 to 8 in August 2017, November 2017, and the rest is history. We're at 19 units, 25 bedrooms now, and looking to double that this year.
And I want to say, so that everyone hears, I did not tell him to sell the house. In fact, I was afraid the moment he told me. I'm like, are you really, really sure?
I remember you actually, every like 3 or 4 weeks, he'd be like, so how you doing? How you feeling? You still love it? You okay? Okay.
Yeah, I was nervous because, again, it's not that the system and the businesses, the idea doesn't work. It's that you don't know. I don't know. We don't know how you're going to respond when a challenge comes your way, and how you respond to that. It can sometimes make things go the wrong way. Now, we have a question from, I'm going to do my best. It sounds like Kashara Bell. That is my guess, is Kashara Bell. And I've got 2 individuals who I know can totally crush this question for you, Kashara. But Kashara wants to know, how do I get an apartment to allow her to do Airbnb? Her words, not mine.
Go for it, Alicia.
All right. Well, first, Shashara, and if I butchered your name, I'm very sorry. We don't have an Airbnb business. We have a short-term rental business. So when you approach an apartment unit and say, I have a short-term rental business and my clients are whoever you want to serve. For us, it's government employees, business travelers, traveling nurses, and business travelers. So when we approached the apartment unit that way, they were very happy to have us there, and they've been great.
And David, how would you, is there anything different that you would add? Because I know one of the things that you've been able to do is you've been able to get owners to go, I'll say, the extra mile in a very serious way. So I would love for you to explain or expound a little bit more about that, but and as you answer Kashar's question a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's all about relationships. This business is all about relationships, whether it's with property owners, the real estate management companies, your guests, ultimately your guests, your cleaning companies. This is all about relationships. So for me, right out of the gate, I approached this from a relationship standpoint. And remember, I'm the guy who failed at sales. So, you know, I got let go, right? Because I couldn't do it well enough. But my approach was, and you'll probably come across these materials in the program. I use this. This is a brochure, and inside this brochure is an introductory letter. I don't know if you can see this or not. It's an introductory letter. And this is just a list of things that I can bring as an operator, basically selling the value. So I just set up meetings, you know, with folks to introduce myself, tell them about who I am and what I'm doing, the clients that I wanted to serve, and I just started the conversation there, letting them know that I'm a solid candidate, and here's what I can do for you. So it became an approach of this isn't what I need, but here's what I can do to help you and the value I can bring to the table.
Now, there's a unique idea that we've been recently batting back and forth, and that I know you've already added to one of your units, and I'm almost certain that no one in the audience is thinking this deeply, and more importantly, how it can actually affect your short-term rental. Do us a favor, share with us that idea and what some of the results have been because of that.
So you must be talking about the Peloton.
I must be.
So in our in one of our weekly training calls, you know, those are brainstorm sessions. Those are bring your problems and questions to the table sessions. And I don't even know how we got on the topic of Peloton. Jay, I know that you're an avid user and believer in the product. You've got one in your home. Somehow it came up that
I have two bikes and the treadmill, but yes.
Okay. So yeah. So I thought, why not put a Peloton in one of my units just as an experiment? And so I ordered the Peloton, had it delivered and set up in my second unit. And talk about rave reviews. So two things have happened. One was the CEO of the property management company was bragging on how nice my units were. And he made an arrangement for the owners of the complex to come and see my unit. And so she and her husband showed up, they looked at the unit, and then they went upstairs, not knowing that the Peloton was in the master bedroom. And she had been thinking about buying a Peloton. She'd heard about it, gone to the website. She got on the Peloton, and I walked her through, you know, the login process and showed her all the different programs and training videos and stuff like that. She was so excited about the Peloton. She said, "David, I'm gonna go home and order one of these right away." So what it did was it helped build confidence in her and her husband that what I was doing was really the right thing. The second thing that's happened is I've enlisted feedback from my guests after they check out and asking them, what of the amenities that I provide did you use? And the Peloton has just been, I've received rave reviews. They're in my public reviews now. I had one guest who was considering staying at one of my 2 units for their stay. And one of my units, my first unit, doesn't have the Peloton. She ended up booking that unit, having viewed online my other listing, and she got confused. So she was really, really disappointed that my first unit did not have the Peloton in it. So guess where I'm at in considering putting a Peloton in that unit. Yeah, it's just been a great thing. So it's kind of like the Peloton has become standard equipment in my units now. And I think I was the first student in the group to do this.
Yes.
And hopefully other students are jumping on board, because it has just been an incredible thing.
So here's what I want everyone to hear. I want you to hear the fact that when you understand who your customer is, you can go deep. You should go deep, because your customer will absolutely appreciate, also known as pay for, with the fact that you have taken the time to make something fit for them. They know it. They see it. Again, a Peloton is not a new thing in that sense, but it is a new use case or a new way to use the same thing. We devise our entire roadmap culture is constantly on the bleedingest of edges when it comes to, okay, what else can we do to serve our customers better, so that, yes, we protect our occupancy, we increase our average daily rate, we make sure that the relationship with the ownership does the best we know to possibly do. Now, I've got another question, which I think this is going to be interesting to hear, because I want to hear, Kashar's asking, should I always speak with the managers or just the leasing / salesperson? So, Chinedu, Wendy, what say you?
Well, Sinead owns all his own. He speaks to himself.
That's actually part of the reason why I wanted him to answer, because he's answering that, thinking about through that from a completely different perspective than what most people might be approaching it as. So I figured, hey, let's find it out. But Wendy, what would you say? Should what should Kashara do? Should we just focus on the do we talk to the managers or leasing salesmen too?
Well, what you really need to do is to get to the decision maker. So depending on what type of property you're looking for, if you're looking at an apartment complex, then more than likely the first person that you're going to get on the line is going to be a leasing agent. So therefore we tell people, after you say, my company and I are looking to lease a number of units in the area, are you the right person to talk to? Then that person is, depending on what that person says, then you know whether or not you're talking to the right person or not. So getting to the decision maker is going to be key, and the leasing agent or the property manager is not the right person to talk to. So you really need to get to talk to the owner, because the owner is the one that can really make a decision. And now that Sinead has maxed out all his units, now he's going to have to start talking to some property managers or some leasing agents as well. Uh-oh, I can't hear what Jay's saying. Oh, there you are.
All right, you're coming from the ownership perspective. So I guess the question is, because many people ask this, why would you even consider, talking to landlords? Why not just keep buying them?
To be frank, if I knew what I know now, I would have gone this route as opposed to buying. Because with buying, I ended up tying up lots and lots of capital over and over again, as opposed to just going with the arbitrage model, and that would have helped me scale much faster. Now, to what Wendy said, I haven't maxed out my places yet. I've got 10 more to get to max, but I'm absolutely considering looking for other cities and other states to go set up more. And as soon as I am done maxing out my places, but I would rather, I would not buy going forward until I've reached the income goal per month that I want to create, and then I start using those to buy, or even get a lease option agreement with the owners right up front, so that I have an agreement to buy later on down the line with the income that I've created from the product.
Love it, because your thought process went to the entire 180. I almost said 360. Then you'd be right back where you were. But an entire 180 around the whole thing, because there's a lot of individuals who want to own, and what I hear you saying is it would actually be financially beneficial to delay ownership until the short-term rental portfolio was large enough so that you could then go buy other assets. Is that an accurate summation?
Yes, yes. I've actually considered selling some.
You know that.
I'm not going to, but I've considered it.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And it totally makes sense, because like you said, underutilized capital, or capital that is not performing at its best, is a lost opportunity. And I totally hear how that is. And again, I appreciate your example, your follow through, because it's really important that even though we've achieved some things, it doesn't mean we're done yet. And that's just who you have been from day one. And I'm just glad that you are who you are. Now, for those of you who are like Janedu, or like Robert, or like Wendy, like David, I hear you. That what we're trying to do here is just let you know that we're normal people, and we just happen to find an opportunity that is majorly impactful. Don't let the numbers confuse you. It's majorly impactful. I know you may think your annual income is a lot, and to you it is, and that's great. But what we're saying is the system, the processes, the everything about what we have here at CashFlowDiary and inside the Roadmap program is designed to transform you, the way you think, the way you approach money, the way you approach life in general, so that you can become a bigger, better version of yourself. Now, one of the things that I've also noticed, because this was true for myself and my wife Poppy, is that this particular opportunity gave us a unique way to work together, because historically it was, me out and about doing the real estate thing, and then she would do other things. And now it's more of us working together, because the skill sets required to execute the strategy actually requires both of us. Because see, I entered the industry not understanding what a duvet was. Now, if that's a new word to you, I totally get it, because I didn't know either, right? And I had a lot to learn about what goes inside a short-term rental. I did not come knowing this knowledge, but I knew what I knew, and I was willing to learn the rest. So I'm curious, Alicia and Martin, how has this business, because you guys had, worked together before, as you said. I'm curious, has this business changed, enhanced, or is the dynamic the same? And if so, I'm curious in what ways.
I think that it's a little different from the commercial cleaning business. In the commercial cleaning business, it was like we were at war every day, not amongst ourselves, but keeping up with 20 employees, going to have to bail somebody out of jail so they could show up for work, just crazy stuff. And now it's the business. We built the business that we want.
Mm-hmm.
And this business doesn't rule us like the other business did. In saying that, our personalities, for example, Martin can handle any customer service complaint, anything, and it just rolls off his back. And, a couple of seconds later, he's like, "What's for dinner, babe?" And, with me, I'm walking around the house, I'm ticked off, I'm taking it personally, I can't handle rudeness. So, that is just not my forte. For me, it's
me either. I trust me. Everybody knows when a customer has left a ticky-tack review or something like that around here. So I do my best not to be there too. I hear you. Sorry to interrupt. Keep going. Go ahead.
It's okay. I've dealt with people all of my life, from nursing and everything, but usually when you have a needle in your hand, the patients don't give you much flack. But Martin, he can just handle it like gangbusters. For me, setting things up, building relationships, working on contracts and planning out the units and making sure that we have our business licenses and going for government contracts. That's my forte. So we work well together in that instance. But some of the times there's things that we don't agree on. And in that instance, over the 30-something years we've been together, we've learned that we're individuals. And so your idea might not be my idea. I don't have the same 6 inches of gray matter between my ears as you do, So, you got to do you and I'm going to do me, and we'll respect each other. We'll respect each other in that sense. Oh, Jay, we can't hear you.
So that's the thing I was trying to highlight, is the fact that this business forces and matures couples in a way that I have never seen, like ever, inside of real estate, and I don't even know why, but I just know that. And that is one of the things that I like about it. I mean, obviously it's not like we advertise and we can heal your relationship too. That's not what we're trying to do. That was not the intended effect, but it seems to be a benefit. So I'm curious, when it comes down to say the design versus the property or location acquisition or things of that nature, how do you guys in general divide up the responsibilities?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm a researcher. I'm like David. Things have to be right. I'm dyslexic, and I grew up with a high school teacher mother. And if you didn't spell something right, if your homework wasn't right, if whatever, she'd rip it up and you have to do it again. So that's sort of ingrained in me. So I go and I do the research, and I go, like you said, walk the streets to make sure that the neighborhood is okay. And I don't want to say obsess over the small things, but that's what I do. And I do it quietly. I don't nag or anything like that. And Martin comes in and, he might say, "Well, babe, what about this?" "Well, here's my research." And I hand him the report so he can look over it.
Annotated, double spaced, highlighted with
exactly. Commas in the right place.
I like it. We all have a way of attacking the problem, and I love it. And
exactly.
being willing to respect and recognize each of our strengths and uniquenesses, because I think this industry or this particular business pulls them out of us in a way like no other. It's like you won't actually be successful unless you begin to understand that what they do naturally is actually now a really, really good thing in this situation and can help you. Because, well, if left up to me, I've said it before. I say it again. That I probably would have hurt somebody by now, because the customer service on this business will at some point poke you just the wrong way. Now, some of you out there are in a position to where you have some assets. You are considering maybe buying a house, like I was when I first started this. I was actually going to go buy a house for this. Now, you've heard hints and drops around how like Sinead and others, they've had prior real estate experience and may have even owned some property. So what we're going to dig into really quickly is I'm going to bring up the individuals who either sold property or considered selling property in order to make their short-term rental business work. And very specifically, I'm going to ask you guys to focus on the mindset, the thought processes, the understanding. What led you to make the decision that you did? Because I think that would be very, very beneficial for everyone to know. And Wendy, let's start with you.
So I will never forget the day that John and I were looking at what we were making on our long-term rental, because we had one, and we had started our short-term rental in our own basement, and comparing what we were making in our basement as a short-term rental with what we were making in our long-term rental, it blew our minds, because we were making more money with just the basement space, which was less than 1,000 square feet, in 30 minutes outside of Charlotte. We were like, who in the world is going to stay here? But people kept coming. And we spent, what, $2,000 on that? As opposed to the long-term rental house, which was a flip gone wrong, which we never should have bought in the first place. But we we invested $130,000 into that house. So we kept it, and we're using it as a long-term rental. And then a year later, we are looking at the difference between, okay, here's a long-term rental. We invested $130,000. It's making us $900 a month, as opposed to this short-term rental that is making us $1,200 a month. We've invested $2,000 in this. Doesn't really seem to be any kind of comparison at all. And if I had that $130 investment back, think of how many short-term rental units I could set up now. It would be fantastic. I could have, 30, 20.
That's awesome. I'm stepping in for Jay for just a second. I actually had a question for Sinead. You and I last. Hello, Moto. When we first spoke, it was at the end of March 2020. I have a special place in my heart for Sinead because he was the first person I spoke to that I helped join the roadmap. And I remember talking to him, I was shaking like a leaf because I'm not a sales guy. I've never done sales in my life before. I don't even like to consider myself a salesperson. I just like helping people. And this was something that I know and do. So the question I have for you, Sinead, is how has your mindset changed from that conversation to today? What process, what have you experienced, and what was it then, and how would you say it's different today, if at all?
To be frank with you, I didn't realize you were shaking, to be honest. And I think I remember asking you at one point when you asked me a question to close, and I was just like, "Are you trying to quiz waltz me?" But at the time, I was nervous because the world literally had just shut down. I was going to buy another product, another mentorship program, and I didn't really like the way they handled the COVID situation because it was an in-person event. So they were still asking you to pay, come. And I was just like, I'm not really feeling this. So I reached out to CashFlowDiary. It's like, hey, I need to do something ASAP. I talked to someone and they were like, you know what, you probably need to talk to Jay directly. And you hopped on the phone and chatted with me. At the time, I was nervous. I was scared because I was thinking, I'm in Alexandria, Louisiana. What happens in Alexandria, Louisiana? Who comes here? I'm not even a big city. Most people know Alexandria, Virginia, but that's it, you know. That's why I started with only 2, and seeing that the gross income was able to cover my mortgages for all 22 units. That was a switch. Now I literally can't turn them out fast enough. I have 7 waiting to be turned right now. And I'm trying to get to it as quickly as possible. My mind has shifted so much because now I see the possibility. Now I see, I was able to let go of my job, partially like a crazy person, but also knowing that I will be all right because people always need a place to stay. Now.
Yeah. So one of the things that makes a lot of entrepreneurs successful is they have a why, a reason for why they do what they do. I remember speaking to you and you told me your why. It was inspiring to me, and wanted to see if you could share that with some of the folks who may be considering joining the roadmap.
To be frank with you, my why has shifted probably multiple times since then. Can you remind me what I said?
You had mentioned to me that your family, your dad specifically, had given you, there it is, that book as a young man. And at that time you had promised, I believe you said you promised your father that that one day when you needed to, if you were called upon, you would take care of your mother and your sister.
Yeah. My dad gave me that book at 13. I still joke that I think it was child abuse, but good child abuse. I read the book, and the only thing that stuck with me was pretty much creating assets and using assets to make yourself free, financially free. And I started buying some, and I slowed down a little bit because I lost my dad in 2016. However, I actually told my dad that I was going to buy a house for myself, and he discouraged me from doing that. I wanted me to continue buying rentals. So after I lost him, I thought about quitting. However, that wasn't an option because now mom and sister relied on us, on my brother and I. So it was full force ahead to you never, there's an adage back home that you don't become a man until your dad dies. And to know how much he was covering for the rest of the family, to now see that gone it turned on a different switch, and mentally it probably made me a little bit more of an animal than I normally would have with my normally docile attitude or slack attitude towards most things. But mentally, it made me more of an animal. Yeah, definitely more of an animal.
Just for me, because when you said the phrase, you don't become a man until your dad dies. Can you say it the way that you would say it back home? Because I really would love to know that one.
Oh God, you're putting me on the spot now.
I am. That I am absolutely doing and enjoying it too. You know.
One
more time. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay. Oh, but Papa get one. Okay.
Whoa, that was fast. Okay, I'm gonna have to rewind and work on that one because that was faster than I was prepared for. But okay, I just wanted everyone to hear it, everyone to to hear it, because I'm sure something in that is lost in translation. But I definitely appreciate, well, honestly, your dad, because in a sense, it's rare that a parent would say, "Don't buy a house." Understand, I get flamed for telling people to not buy your primary residence because it will suck money from you. You need to build cash flow first, preferably with real estate, could be with a business, but you got to build that stuff first, right, in order to make it work. Now, we're getting close to the end here, and yet there's something critically important that we just haven't asked everybody and talked about. But as a military child, I grew up overseas, and one of the things that stayed paramount was the idea of safety and security. And in this business, it is still very, very, very paramount. Now, as we continue, and as we have already done, here's something I need you to hear. If you've wondered, why are they sharing so many things freely? They're giving it all away. Here's what I want you to consider. We have no qualms about sharing our expert tools with you because they're plain, they're obvious, they're there. It is not knowing the expert tool exists that matters. It is knowing how to use the expert tool expertly. You know, as has been said before, if you and I, or me and Kobe, or me and Michael Jordan, or me and any professional basketball player that you like, if he and I, or she and I, are on the court, but they don't know the rules. If Lisa Leslie doesn't know the rules of the game, they could be playing the wrong game and it won't matter. Even though her skill with the basketball is definitely better than mine, the point is it won't matter. So it's not just about understanding that the tool, the basketball, exists. It's also about the skill level in the correct context. So with that as the background, there's a question from Vondra, and Dave, you are so perfect to answer. When it comes to security, what are some of the systems you all use rather than passing a key around?
That's a great question. So we use the Vivint home security system. My background, I'm not proficient with technology. So when I first learned that our rental units were going to have a home security system, and I think I first heard that we were going to be running and controlling the system from an app on our phone, I think I freaked out. Like, oh God, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. But we have Vivint is a home security system provider. So in our units, there's a central hub panel that mounts on the wall that controls the entire security system. So some of the components that are in that are a doorbell, a camera, a motion detector inside the home. There are door and window open and close sensors. There are thermostats that are a part of the system as well. So it allows us as operators to control the home environment, to see and understand who's coming in and going out of a unit at any given time. We have the opportunity to have 24-hour video recording, so we can go back and review the systems. We can add and remove guests. We can add security codes, update the security codes for our guests. We can turn those on and off at check-in, check-out time. We can add cleaners and dedicated codes for our cleaning staff as they come and go. So, you know, I literally run my business off my phone with these apps. So you can probably see the Vivint app there at the top, and that's just one of a handful. So it was not the daunting learning experience that I had envisioned. And it's kind of cool to be able to run things and feel like my home it is secured. So hopefully that that answers the question of what we're using.
Absolutely perfect. I appreciate, again, like I said, I love your perseverance and in how consistent you are and dogged about sticking close to exactly what the system is, because that has allowed you to see what it's capable of and to dig deep down into the type of person that you want to serve and be able to do extra things that oftentimes others have never considered or even thought about. Now, I want to bring everybody back real fast. And as you think about, the last few months or years that you've been in this business, imagine for a moment that you're talking to the prior version of yourself. And what would you say as a final thought? What would you say to the person you used to be, or to that friend you care about, as you started with this business and feeling, nervous or scared or afraid? Let's start with Wendy.
I would tell the scared younger version of myself that everything that you have ever wanted is on the other side of fear. However, there is no success without failure. So you have to move through the fear and move past the fear to get what you want and where you want to be, to become the person that you want to be, so that you can have the things that you want to have. And that's the only way to get there. It's just like Jay says, fail fast, fail forward, and fail often. And if I could tell myself one thing, it would be go fail. Go fail a lot, go fail more often, go fail faster, because that's the only way that you are going to get to where you want to be.
Absolutely. Sinead, what'd you say?
That's fear. That's fear. Fear is everywhere. It happens to the best of us. Mind you, a lot of us started when COVID was literally happening. If that's not the height of fear, I don't know what else is. However, we must know that whatever we want, if we don't do anything, we don't get anything different. There's risk in everything. Everyone says everything is risky. However, the only thing that gets rid of risk is education. The thing that keeps us going is accountability. So like Elon Musk said, I'm going to paraphrase, the voices are going to be there, but first they'll laugh at you and then they'll applaud. Just keep moving.
Love it. David.
Yeah, I think for me, a long time ago, I was going through a pretty hard time in life. And a good friend of mine said, David, when you're flat on your back, everything's looking up. And I think, I can only imagine that everybody joined this call today because there's something that you're feeling or experiencing that's missing in your life. Either you're working too hard, or you're not working enough, you don't have a job, or you've got a job that you don't like, not enough income. There's a reason why you're here. And I remember that lunch that I had with Hugh, and it would have been nice if either Hugh or myself had just reminded me that when you're flat on your back, everything's looking up. And, a lot of us are on our backs right now. And for me, I didn't realize how bright the up was in being a part of this. So it's just been a great experience, and look up and go for the up, because there's a tremendous amount of opportunity and reward that lies ahead.
Love it. Robert.
I would say that every goal you set for yourself, every mountain you want to climb, every journey you begin starts with a single step. And if you see a big picture and you feel like you're getting overwhelmed by the details and not sure if it's going to work, I just encourage you to take the first step. Mount Kilimanjaro, I just looked this up while everyone was talking, 19,340 feet in elevation. If you want to climb that mountain, you got to take the first step. And there's a lot of things in life that are scary that are overcome by action. So I encourage you to take the action, take the step.
Alicia, Martin. Oh, hold on. You were muted. You're currently muted, I think. I can't unmute you though. There you go.
Generation X and technology. Some of the times it doesn't mix.
I know, right?
Well, for me, every experience that I've gone through takes me a step further to the right people, the right vehicle to make my vision become my reality. So that's what I would tell my younger self. And that's what I found with this program, not meaning be corny or blowing smoke, but I know that I'm aligned to match my vision with everything that I've learned here, the people I've met, the mentorship that I've received. It's possible. I've always had this vision for my life, and whatever vehicle I was in, it just didn't get me there. But with this vehicle, I can see myself getting there very quickly and staying there, not falling off that vision mountain. So,
man, woo! I
checks are sweet.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate all of you guys, because what it comes down to is you've done something that a lot of individuals don't do. They don't take on life. And you may find yourself today feeling like or being one of those individuals. And you're hoping and wishing and thinking, man, what on earth could I do? Or maybe you're feeling a little afraid still. And you're just wondering, well, it worked for them. Will it work for me? And where will the money come from? Well, there are more sessions. There are more, obviously, because this is what we do. We have a number of replays that are still available for you for a short time. Start watching them now while you are here for the rest of the day, even. And understand that part of what we have designed, it is intentionally designed for the busiest among you, for those with the least amount of resources, for those who feel like they have literally no experience, don't know what you're doing, never owned a business. That we designed it so that you could be successful, which is another way of saying, if you have success, if you have had it in the past, it wasn't gone forever. It can come again. And that is what we're here to do, is to help you build you in a way that is sustainable, as you have heard, that is scalable, that is impactful, so that you can become the person of significance that you have always desired. Because on the other end, what else is there? When it comes down to it, most of us haven't had the quality of opportunity that we deserve, and definitely have been building on a foundation that was never capable of delivering what we've always hoped for. It is our pleasure. It is our fun. It is literally our joy to work with you. We don't need to know your name. We don't need to know all of the things that have happened. We just need to know where you want to go. Because together, here at CashFlow Diary, our job is to get you there, one step at a time, using our roadmap. Ladies and gentlemen, as it has been, always will be, and is again fun just hanging out with you. There will be more sessions around raising capital. There'll be more people that you'll get to meet. There's more information available than you could possibly shake a stick at. There is no question that you can ask that we have not already answered, systematized, and put together for you to be successful. You've got about one job right now. Get on the phone. Get in the program. Go to CashFlowDiary.com/let's meet. Schedule a time to speak with Rob, speak with Jeremy, and just get it done. Get it buttoned up. Even and especially because you don't know how you're going to do it. Let us guide you through. Go to CashFlowDiary.com/let's meet now, as in today, as in right now, and get the appointment scheduled, because there is no other time than right now. You can't act in the past, and we understand that things happened back there. We're going to call that so what? And now we're asking you, now what? Ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun talking to you guys today. We look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.